All right, we are back. The countdown until rematch comes out is here. In the meantime, I got nothing to do, so might as well just hop on here and start telling you guys about some random ass shit, because that's all I can think of doing right now. And I want to tell you guys about my time as a Uber Eats slash DoorDash driver. Yes, my friends, it is true. I was a measly little hardworking Uber Eats and DoorDash driver. I haven't always been a freelancer software engineer as I am now. I haven't always been balling on minimum wage. Believe it or not, there was a time when I wasn't making barely enough money to survive and I was actually going negative every single month. And that, my friends, is my time as a Uber Eats and DoorDash driver. So I have a couple stories that I want to tell you guys about, but before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit more about my history. So I came to America in 2019, and ever since I came to America, I was struck with this realization as a young 17-year-old, where America is a land of many opportunities for teenagers, believe it or not. You can get a job as a teenager in high school, making minimum wage, which at the time was about $13 if I'm not mistaken. And at the time I was thinking, hold on, you're telling me that I can work for $13 an hour and I don't have any bills to pay. So I'm just pocketing all of this money at the end of my shift and I can go ahead and just buy a bunch of video games, buy some consoles and shit. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna do that. I still don't understand to this day how some people in high school don't have jobs and still rely on their parents for money. I'm talking about America here, okay? This is not a universal thing. I'm talking purely in America. If you are a teenager in high school struggling with money and you're depending on your parents for that money, just get a goddamn job, bro. It's so easy. Work part-time. You make way more than enough to live. You live like a king, if anything, bro. I remember I was balling, bro. I was buying video games. With my first paycheck, I got a Nintendo Switch, but we're getting too ahead of ourselves here. So I came to America. I was in high school. I was like, you know what? Let me get a job. First thing I did was I applied to Chuck E. Cheese. Now, Chuck E. Cheese wasn't the worst thing ever. It was pretty bad though, I'm not gonna lie. So that was my first job. I don't want to get into that too much because it's not the topic of the video. My second job was at Vans, the shoe store. Very good job. Loved it to death. Worked part-time there as well. I was in college by this time. And then my third job came around. And what was my third job, my friends? I decided that I'm going to be a Uber Eats and DoorDash driver. The bills were piling up. I had more responsibility around my second/third year of college, and I needed the money. I needed to live. I didn't want to be homeless. So I decided to sign up for Uber Eats and DoorDash. Now, everything started off fine when I was doing Uber Eats and DoorDash. It was very lucrative, believe it or not. I was making a lot more money than when I was working at Vans, than when I was working at Chuck E. Cheese. However, it did come at a time where I had more responsibilities, which means rent, bills, etc. But nonetheless, I absolutely loved it at the start. You could manage your own time, work whenever you want, stop whenever you want. Perfect for a college student. I would make a decent amount of money every time I would click that go button on Uber Eats to start, delivering food. I would be getting some orders in, I'd be delivering them, you know what I'm saying? Making that money. It doesn't matter if it's 10 p.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., orders were coming in all the time. Now, I did Uber Eats and DoorDash for around 2 to 3 years, but I am still doing it now, so I guess you can say that I have been doing it for 2 to 3 years. And it has slowed down since I started. I guess people just ran out of money to order food. Now, working with Uber Eats and DoorDash for 2 to 3 years doesn't come easy. There have been a lot of weird moments that I have went through, some good, some very bad, and I will proceed to tell you some of them today. Very long intro, I know. The first thing that comes to mind, I remember, and this is a good story here. So I remember I was delivering some food from Jack in the Box, if I'm not mistaken, and I was delivering it to this old little compound with a bunch of RVs and mobile homes, places where elderly people usually live. So I remember I knocked on the door with the Jack in the Box thing in my hand, An old lady opens up the door and she's like, "Hello, little guy. Come here. Thank you so much. Can you just come in here and put it on my table?" Now, I thought I was going to get kidnapped at this point, okay? This happened a lot during my time at Uber Eats. I don't care if you're 50, 60, 70, 80. I don't care if you're an old-ass lady. All right, I always feel like I'm about to get kidnapped, like they're gonna take my kidney and just fucking sell it on the black market. That's what always the feeling I had, especially delivering at night. And I remember this was a very late order. It was like 10, 11 p.m. And I was like, this old lady really eats late, eh? She likes to stay up past her bedtime. I thought old people went to bed way before then. Anyway, so she tells me to come in, and I come in obviously because I don't want to be an asshole. So I remember I come in, I drop the food or groceries on the table, and she starts digging through her pocket. And I'm like, oh, so this is where it's going. She's about to tip me cash. I was like, all right. Because we live on tips, dude. DoorDash and Uber Eats drivers, they live on tips. We don't get paid shit from Uber or DoorDash. So we have to live off of the tips, which is why I don't like ordering Uber Eats and DoorDash food personally, because I don't have enough money to tip. So I feel bad. Anyways, she goes into her pocket. She brings out like a stack of dollar bills, and I mean a stack. Like, this old lady she was like going to a strip club or something, dude. I don't know why she had that many dollar bills. Anyways, she starts going through them. She does the thing where she goes like, you know what I'm saying? And she starts digging through the money, and she gives me like $4, and she tells me, "It's pretty cold outside, eh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty cold." You know what I'm saying? And she goes, "Here's $4. Go buy yourself a cup of hot chocolate milk, okay?" And I was like, ah, I can't believe I thought she was gonna kidnap me, bro. She broke my heart. It was the cutest thing ever, dude. I did use that money to buy a vape though, so hopefully she doesn't see this video ever. There have been a lot of moments that have really stuck with me during my time delivering food. I remember one time I had like a bunch of groceries from Safeway, and I mean like heavy ass bags. And I was delivering them to this weird ass, very complicated building system with like multiple sub buildings. And I had to call the customer, and we sat on the phone for like 10-15 minutes just trying to figure out where to meet up because it was so complicated. I meet her eventually. She meets me in like the parking lot. And I can tell this lady cannot lift anything up. These are pretty heavy grocery bags. So of course, being the nice, wonderful guy I am, I might be one of the best people on the planet. I offer to help her to bring up the stuff to her apartment. So we hop in the elevator and we start going up to her apartment, and she starts telling me more about her life. And she seemed very she was young, on the younger side. I would say she's about 40, but you can tell she couldn't really move. She had like a little bit of a disability, I would say. And she started telling me how she got hit by a car and her spine had a fracture in it or something, and she can't really carry anything anymore. It was one of the saddest stories ever. She was like, "I have nothing in life anymore. All I have is this apartment and my 2 dogs. That's all I have." And I felt so bad for this lady. I was like, thank God I offered to help her bring up the groceries. Like, holy shit. Anyways, we get to her apartment. I bring the groceries in. The apartment smells like ass, by the way. I don't know if I should say that. She was a pretty nice lady. But lady, your apartment smelled so bad. And I see the 2 cute little dogs, and she was like, "These are all I have." And I was like, oh, my heart breaks for you. Anyways, I hop on out. I'm on my way back down. I don't usually expect cash tips when you're doing Uber Eats and DoorDash. Usually they leave a tip through the app. But when you're delivering groceries, usually you can't really put a tip on the app. So if the customer you're delivering to is a good person, they will tip you in cash. So this lady comes up to me as I'm leaving her apartment, and she goes, "Wait up." And she starts to shake my hand. I'm like, that's a little weird. Am I about to get kidnapped? No. So obviously I didn't get kidnapped. I proceed to shake her hand, and I feel something on the palm of my hand. I look at my hand, and it's a $10 bill. And I'm like, oh my God, she's like the Godfather. But no, she gave me a $10 tip. And I'm like, dude, you can barely afford to live. Like, this woman, obviously, she told me that she didn't have a job. All she had were her dogs. And she's giving me a $10 tip. I'm like, no, you need this more than I do. And she proceeds to tell me, no, go out, have fun. It's a Saturday night, yada, yada, yada. You know how old ladies are. They're the sweetest people ever. So I reach the elevator, and I thought it was I think it was a $5 bill. So I look at my hand, I thought it was a $5 bill. I proceed to untangle the $5 bill, and there's $15 more in there. So she gave me a $20 tip, dude. And this lady could barely afford to live. I think she mentioned that on the elevator ride up. She was like, I am broke as shit. I can't afford to live. But she proceeded to give me a $20 tip, bro. The lady who can barely afford groceries. Her needs are barely being met. She gave me a $20 tip. And I have delivered, I don't want to be that guy, but I have delivered to some very luxurious houses, very luxurious homes. You can tell these people lived in fantastic areas, and these people barely tip you like $1 or $2. And this lady who can barely afford to live gave me $20, which just shows you how good some people are on this planet. It does give me some hope of our planet. But now this next story made me lose hope in all of humanity. I know, we're like zigzagging all over the place. This next story really broke me, okay? I don't think I'll ever recover from this. I remember I was getting some groceries for a customer over at Walgreens, which is a grocery store. So I'm looking through the app, you know what I'm saying? I'm going through the store, grabbing up all the little groceries they wanted. But before I could even start working, I saw a baddie. And at this time, you know, I've been out of the game for a while. I think I graduated college. And I was like, you know what? Let's see if I still got it. Let's see if I can spit some game at this baddie here. Let's see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to warm up. Maybe one day I can spit some real game. So I tell this baddie, hey, man, I didn't say, hey, man. That would have been bad. I said, hey, your hat looks good. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. Right back at you. And, you know, I felt something there. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you know what? Maybe I still got it. You know, maybe there's something in here. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's still something. So we proceed to move on. We both go our separate ways. I proceed to do the grocery shopping, and I see what this customer ordered. And it shocked me to the core of my peanut. This customer ordered 3 things from the grocery store. 3 things only. I want you to guess what he ordered. I'm gonna wait for 1 second. Did you guess a pair of socks, lotion, and deodorant? Because if so, you guessed right. That's all they ordered. Socks, lotion, and deodorant. Now, what does that usually mean? That means we got one horny ass motherfucking customer on the phone, okay? That's who ordered this shit. A horny ass motherfucker, a gooner, okay? As a lot of you watching are, I'm assuming, because you keep telling me in the comments that you are gooners. That's not me being mean. So at this point, I am praying that I don't see the baddie again in the line waiting for the cash register. Because if she sees me holding a pair of socks, lotion, and deodorant, and that's all I'm buying, I don't even want to know what goes through her head, okay? I didn't even want to know. So I proceed to walk to the line that leads to the cash register, and who do I see in front of me? The baddie and her friend. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, so what are you doing tonight? And I have the socks and lotion in my hands, and I'm like, I don't, gonna go out, have some fun. No, you're not. You could have just said you're doing Uber Eats, but I thought she wouldn't believe me, so I had to make up this weird ass story that I'm going out and watching the movies at like 12 a.m. Mind you, this was like 12 a.m. Of course she didn't believe me. She probably thought I was insane. She probably thought I was going home, gonna jerk it, okay? She probably thought I was the most degenerate bastard on earth, and I was over here complimenting her on her hat, and we're having a conversation here in line, me holding a pair of socks and some lotion, okay? This was insane. I was so embarrassed, bro. I wanted to die in that moment. I was praying, God, strike me down now. She turns around, she starts whispering to her friend, and they start laughing. Now, I'm not gonna assume they were laughing at the guy holding a pair of socks and lotion, but that's what I'm gonna fucking assume. They were laughing at me, bro. They knew what I was about to go do. And it wasn't me. I was delivering it to a goddamn customer, bro. That could have been my soulmate, bro. That could have been the girl I was gonna marry. And this motherfucker staying up at the fucking 5 Seasons hotel was ordering socks and lotion. Like, can you at least not be so obvious? Can you at least add a bar of chocolate to the goddamn thing? Socks and lotion, dude? Do you know how embarrassing that is? Dude, I'm the kind of guy who's embarrassed to go buy some condoms for a customer. I remember customers would make me and go buy just condoms, and I'd be the most embarrassed bastard in the world because I knew I wasn't gonna use that shit. It wasn't for me. I ain't got that kind of game. Side note, why is it that customers always order a Magnum XXL condom? Like, do you understand how embarrassing that is for me to be waiting in line and give the cashier a fucking Magnum triple XL condom? They start looking at me all weird. Like, we both know I don't got that kind of game. I don't got that kind of style on me. We both know. I don't know, man. Uber Eats, DoorDash, it's good at the start, but then it just fell off a cliff. You know, you're over there just in your car waiting for something to happen. You don't have guaranteed income. It sucks. I hope I never have to go back to that ever again. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscription if you guys really want to, and I'll see you guys next time.